Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks all for being here on a beautiful summer day in Syracuse. Governor Cuomo, it's our great pleasure to welcome you once again to Syracuse University. We thank you for being here, and thank you in particular for bringing this important discussion to our campus. Before we begin, we want to thank all the people who made this event possible, including Anthony Villardo and Jessica DeSmere from the Governor Cuomo's regional office, Dean Lorraine Branham and her staff at the Newhouse School for accommodating us, the university's Office of Government and Community Relations for organizing the event, and our physical plant staff who have been working very hard to set this up in a very busy commencement week. I also want to acknowledge special guests who made an effort to be here today for this important issue, including Onondaga County Executive Joni Mahoney, who will be speaking right after my introduction, Assemblyman Sam Roberts, President of the Syracuse Common Council, Van Robinson. Following County Executive Mahoney's remarks, she's going to introduce Megan Greeley, one of our graduate students who's going to speak on this topic. We're here, of course, today to talk about an issue facing college students and college campuses across our state and our nation: sexual assault and relationship violence. This is not an easy subject, but one that we must discuss and work hard at every day to combat. Too many times, including recently, we have heard stories across the country of students who have been victimized, along with stories of their struggles to seek justice and the support that is needed to recover. Last fall, I convened a work group comprised of students and faculty and staff to improve sexual violence prevention, education, and advocacy on this campus. The recommendations of this group, many of which align closely with what Governor Cuomo has proposed as part of the Enough is Enough legislation, those recommendations have been implemented or are currently being implemented on campus. The work of this group is helping to keep Syracuse University ahead of the curve on this issue. That's really important because the university has tried often to be at the forefront of combating sexual violence for decades. We have a very strong working relationship with local law enforcement, backed by an affirmative consent policy. We also have a process in place that provides confidential and privileged counseling services and resources to both victims and survivors. But as chancellor of one of the largest private universities in New York State, I know more work is needed both on our campus and on campuses across the state on this critical issue. That's why in February, during the early stages of the governor's push for the Enough is Enough legislation, I, on behalf of the university, fully endorsed the governor's plan. I continue to do so. I believe one set of standards for every campus, public or private, can further all of our efforts to ensure that every student feels protected and that those who commit acts of sexual violence will be held responsible. Governor, we had the honor of hosting our distinguished alumna, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul, here 2 weeks ago. She led a roundtable conversation of students, activists, campus officials to better understand the full impact this issue has on our own campus and how we can continue to get better at how we respond. During her visit, the university announced the creation of a chancellor's standing task force on sexual assault and relationship violence, whose 30 members are students, faculty, staff, and members of the broader community. Many members of the task force are here with us today, and I thank them for their work. The mission of this ongoing group is to continue to critically examine all of our services, policies, and programs every semester, and importantly, to help advance and implement further improvements in sexual violence prevention, education, and advocacy services on this campus. Syracuse University does take this issue very seriously, and therefore, Governor, we thank you for your support. We thank you for your work to make all campuses safe in New York. We stand ready to work with you to ensure that this legislation is enacted. And now I ask you to please welcome our County Executive, Joni Mahoney.
Thank you, Chancellor. I am proud to be here today. Welcome, Governor, back to Onondaga County. We have all heard too many stories about sexual assault and relationship violence, as the chancellor said, on campuses. It's an issue of serious concern, and that's why I'm very proud to be here today to stand with Governor Cuomo as he moves forward his Enough is Enough legislation, and I'll give you an overview of what that is. The new law creates a statewide definition for affirmative consent. It creates a Bill of Rights for survivors of sexual assault. It requires comprehensive training for administrators, staff, and students, and it includes a statewide amnesty policy to ensure that students reporting incidents of sexual violence are granted immunity from certain campus policy violations, such as drug and alcohol use. Last year, at Governor Cuomo's direction, all of the public universities that are part of the State University of New York system implemented this policy, and this proposal will now bring that policy to all campuses in New York State, and it'll serve as a blueprint for campuses across the United States of America. I am thankful that we have a governor who has a commitment to the safety of the children that we have on our campuses and in our state. And listening to Chancellor Severud, I am a proud alum of a university that's leading the way, and I'm very happy that Syracuse University has signed on early to this Enough is Enough legislation. And I'm proud to introduce to you a woman that I met who is in the MSW program here at Syracuse University, Megan Greenlee, who can share with us her story.
Sorry, I need a stool. Hello, thank you, County Executive Joni Mahoney, for signing on as a supporter to this important legislation, and good afternoon to all of you. I want to take a moment to thank the tireless efforts of survivors and advocates on this campus over the last 25 years, and most recently over this last year. Thank you for providing leadership to all of us as we continue to challenge and change rape culture here at Syracuse University. My name is Megan Greeley. I'm a graduate student here at Syracuse University in the Master's of Social Work program. I'm also a survivor of sexual violence. I was raped just before my senior year of high school by who I had thought was a close friend of mine. I trusted him, and he violated my sense of self and my sense of safety. I no longer knew who I was anymore. This crime altered every aspect of my life. In a year when I should have been celebrating graduating from high school and busily and excitedly making plans for college, I was instead isolating myself, battling depression and anxiety. Not wanting to sacrifice my college experience or lose one more thing as a result of being raped, I signed up for classes and I moved into a dorm at a small private college in Western New York. I trusted this college to keep me safe. While in my first semester, I was asked by my resident assistant to come to his room. He wanted help working on an assignment. He offered me a drink and he began to make forward advances, sexual advances. In the beginning, I politely said no, but he kept pushing, and I was terrified. I began to feel weak, and the room started to spin. I knew he had drugged me, and I remember thinking, not again. I fought with every fiber in my being to get out of his room, to find someone to tell. And with a ripped shirt and a few bruises, I was able to escape. I turned to my college. I was hoping they were going to hold him accountable. I was hoping they would offer me support and safety. That was not the response I received, and I moved home after that first year. I sought therapy services at Vera House, a local nonprofit here in Onondaga County that works with victims and survivors of domestic and sexual violence. I now work there, and I support other survivors. And my experiences led me to tell my story and become an advocate for fellow victim survivors and their families, because enough is enough. As a society, we need to do more to end this kind of violence, especially on college campuses where it is prevalent and where students tend to assume they are safe. We need to have a uniform set of policies for colleges and universities to enforce when it comes to sexual assault and rape. I like to think of all the ways in which my story would be different if the small private college I attended as a freshman had done what this legislation proposes. I would have known about available resources both on and off campus. The college administrators and support staff there would have been trained in how to respond to and support me. And maybe the man who had come very close to completing his intention of raping me would have been held accountable, no longer able to perpetrate sexual violence on other students. No student should ever need to worry that they will become a victim of the type of horrific assaults that I experienced. And just as important, any student who is victimized must know that the school will do everything to hold that perpetrator accountable. Last year, at the direction of Governor Cuomo, public colleges across the state implemented a universal set of policies that included affirmative consent and a student bill of rights. Private colleges should be held to that same standard, and that's why the state legislature must pass the governor's proposal. Now, I want you to join me in welcoming Governor Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be back in Syracuse, Onondaga County. And let me thank first Megan Greeley for, not just for her kind words and her beautiful introduction, but for her courage and taking a negative situation in your personal life and turning it into a positive for others, because that's what you did. Congratulations to you, Megan. To Chancellor Syverud, congratulations again on taking office here. I'm very excited about your new chancellor. I think he's going to be great for the university. I think he's going to be great for the city. I think he's going to be great for the county. I think he's going to be great for the region. We had the opportunity to share a lunch in Albany and talk about the Regional Economic Development Council, which the chancellor serves as co-chairperson of. And he had ideas and a wisdom about regional economic development that just was very exciting. Frankly, I wasn't expecting. I didn't know that chancellors were also regional economic development experts. But when you're Chancellor Syverud, you are. So I listened intently. But he very much understood exactly what we were trying to do. This university is a tremendous asset to do just that. And you have a chancellor who really has tremendous experience and wisdom and energy in this area. So congratulations to Syracuse, congratulations to the region, and let's give the chancellor a round of applause. I also want to applaud the chancellor and this university for their leadership on this issue. This is a difficult issue. It's an issue that people don't like to talk about. It's an issue that people don't like to even validate that the issue exists. So this is one of those issues where leadership really counts, and that's exactly what the chancellor has shown. So let's give him another round of applause. And to your county executive, Joni Mahoney's doing a great job running the county. She also wears several hats for the state. She's on the Power Authority and just became chairperson of the Thruway Authority, which is very important. It runs the Thruway. So what I do now is, because I'm on the Thruway all day long, so I take little notes of every pothole that I pass. And I compile them at the end of the week, and I send a little email to Joni. I say, right past exit 23, left lane. You may want to do the same thing. I know that she would appreciate it. wide cracks too. You want to make sure you note the wide cracks and just get them to Joni, because Joni is responsible. Not me, it's Joni if there's a pothole. That's why she's the chairman. Let's give her a round of applause. We are now in the second half of the legislative session in Albany. There are basically two components. The first half of the session is about getting the budget done, the finances of the state, and the operating plan of the state. That has to be done April 1. In the past, it was never done on April 1. For many, many years, it was always late, the budget. It was 1 month late, 2 months late. It was a joke, frankly, at one point. We've had 5 budgets. We've gotten them done the way we were supposed to get them done. So we got the budget done on April 1st. And now the second half of the legislative session is about passing laws. What type of laws? All different type of laws. Criminal laws, laws regulating businesses, all sorts of environmental laws. We have a very full plate. The laws that tend to capture my interest most and tend to be the most impactful on people are the laws that seek to right a societal wrong, or the laws that go to justice, and the laws that go to fight injustice, and the laws that go to speak towards the way society behaves and defines our relationship one to the other as a community. Those are the laws that capture my attention intellectually, and the laws that actually can make a difference in real people's lives. And the impact of those laws captures my attention. And that's what this law is all about. It is very simple. It first starts with a very powerful premise, and the premise happens to be an admission. And the admission is that in this society today, even in this state, this great progressive state, we still discriminate against women. And that there are double standards in society, and often one society for men and one society for women. Now that is a very stark, and when you think about it, damning premise. How can that be? After all these years with a home to women's suffrage, how can the governor of the state get up and say we discriminate against women? Because we do. Because we do. It's not always intentional, it's not always purposeful, but it's always the same result. You look at the numbers, women earn on average $11,000 less per year than men in the similar position. $500,000 less over their lifetime. 32 times less likely to become a CEO, a woman than a man. 5 times more likely to be sexually harassed or a victim of domestic violence. More than twice as likely to be a victim of lending discrimination or housing discrimination. Twice as likely to be a single parent. Twice as likely to be poor in old age. Just by birth and gender. So we do discriminate against women. That's why we've been working very hard over these past few years on something called the Women's Equality Act, which is just that. It's a Bill of Rights for women to achieve full equality. This issue is an extension of that inequality and an extension of that discrimination. We have a crisis on college campuses of rapes and sexual violence against young women. The numbers are all across the lot, but they are all staggering. Some estimates as one out of 4 or 1 out of 5 women who goes to college will be raped or seriously sexually assaulted. I mean, just imagine that. And what's worse than the crime in some ways is the cover-up, is the way we handle it, is our lack of admission. Why? Because we don't want to admit these kinds of issues. It's why I'm so proud of what you've done here at Syracuse. only 5% of the committed rapes on campuses are reported. 5%. Of the perpetrators who are found guilty of sexual assault, found guilty, only 10% are expelled permanently from the school. How can that be? How can that be? How can the number of incidents be so high? And how can the resolution, the number of reports, be so low? And the statistics on the resolutions be so low? Because nobody wants to talk about it. We've never admitted it. And the instinct of the organizations is to cover it up and make it go away. So, what does this law say, the enough is enough law? It says enough is enough. What a funny name, enough is enough. Yes, it's a funny name. Who came up with that funny name? I came up with that funny name. Why? We had a discussion in a big conference room, and they had all sorts of names for the laws, the violence of sexual predator and act, and because everything has to have 7 words and be an acronym. And I said, no, the name of this law should be enough is enough. And they said, you can't name a law, enough is enough. I said, no, I can, I'm the governor. I can say, enough is enough. I said, because it's that simple. It's not that complicated. It doesn't take a lot of words. This is about justice and fairness. The law says, number one, when a woman complains that she has been sexually abused, she is a victim, and she has rights, and at that moment, she has to be informed of her rights, and informed of the resources, and informed of the experts who can help her. The law says, number two, she has the right, and must be informed that she has the right, to go to the police. Well, that's obvious. No, it's not so obvious. Right now, the majority of the cases are handled by who? Campus security. Campus security. And the orientation of the campus security, the orientation of the campus administration is, make this go away. Make this go away. We don't want to be in the newspaper the next day, student raped on so-and-so campus. So make it go away. And they talk to the woman, and then they talk to the man, whoever else is involved, and they come back and say, well, you know what? There's 2 sides to the story. He says this. He says you had a few drinks. He says you had a reputation. He says, and now the woman's on the defensive. And the woman starts to get a sense this is going to be messy and this is going to be hard. And the witnesses said this, or they'll turn it over to a panel of professors, and the professors will investigate. Most of the women walk away. That's why only 5% of rapes reported. Rapes, not sexual attacks. Rapes reported. And to the extent they can, they come up with an amicable resolution. That's why only 10% are expelled. Because they don't really take it to the conclusion where you can expel a student because of it. So our law says the person has a right to go to the police. And local police, county police, town police, state police will have a special number, special trained group that handle just these cases, because the woman has nothing to be ashamed about, because the woman was the victim. And the person who did it committed a crime, didn't just do a bad thing, didn't just violate campus policy and the motto of the school. It is a crime to abuse or assault someone. And it should be treated as a crime. And the woman should be supported and not attacked and not questioned and not assailed. And that's why the most, to me, impactful piece of the law says, let her go to the police, handle it as the crime it is. It will also bring down the recidivism. Because when you let a person get away with it once, you know what happens? They do it again, and they do it again, and they do it again. Third part of the law is a universal statewide standard on what's called affirmative consent. Affirmative consent means both people had to say yes. You have to say yes to a sexual encounter. It's that simple. And you have to affirmatively say yes. You have to be there, and it has to be consensual. And you can't have one definition for Syracuse, and one definition for Rochester, and one definition in New York City, one statewide definition of what consent is and what affirmative consent is. Also, the bill says for students who are witnesses, they can get amnesty if they are witnesses and they were in a situation that they shouldn't be in. What often happens is there's a party on campus, there's alcohol, that violated the campus rules. The students who are witnesses don't want to cooperate because they don't want to admit that they were in the party and drinking alcohol and then have their own issue. So they would get amnesty, so we have the students come forward to actually cooperate with the police. That's what the law says. And it is common sense, it is inarguable, and it's right, and it's fair. And sometimes you don't need a calculator to figure out if this is the right thing to do. You need this. You need this. We treat women differently. We've made great progress, but we have more to do. There is too much sexual violence, too much assault, and too many people are getting away with it on college campuses. And it has to stop, and it has to stop now. It is not right. It's not who we are. It's not what we teach our children. It's not what we believe as a community. They're not the values of the people of New York. And we're going to right this wrong because enough is enough. We're going to pass this law, and I need you to help. I need you to call your assembly person, call your senator, and say, you have a lot to do. Pass this law because enough is enough. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you again, Governor, for being here. I think I speak for everyone here in thanking you for taking the lead on this important issue for all of us. On our campus, students from state universities and private universities mingle every day, and having one uniform standard in this state would be very helpful for all the reasons you've given. Thank you very much, and welcome everyone.